Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel for another brand new Star Wars The Black Series action figure review. Today we're going to finish taking a look at the Maul Shadow Lord wave by reviewing the main man himself, and that is of course Maul. So getting the box out of the way first of all, standard Black Series packaging that we've all come to expect, exactly the same as the rest of the wave. It's accented in red with Maul Shadow Lord across the bottom banner. It says Maul in the bottom corner. I do like that they've just wrote Maul this time instead of Darth Maul, as of course he drops the Darth at this point in time. We've got the mural artwork on the side of the box. That's then repeated on the back of the packaging, along with a brief write-up about the Maul Shadow Lord series. So first of all, this is going to be more of a comparison and a general little chit-chat other than a review. This is, for all intents and purposes, the exact same figure that came before it, released in Clone Wars packaging, give or take maybe a few paint differences and different accessories. So the main feature with this guy that's new, as you can see, he's got the soft goods cloak, which is featured in some of the promotional material for the series as he comes down the ramp of his Gauntlet Starfighter. This is very nicely done. It's a very good soft material. It's on par with a lot of the soft goods we're receiving from the Black Series these days. And this is the biggest positive I've got to say about this guy. When you've got this draped over him and you pinch that hood and have it look very menacing like that, as if he's peering through the shadow that it's casting over his eyes, then it looks fantastic on display. And this really keeps him specific to the Maul Shadow Lord series, in my opinion. Unfortunately, I don't think the rest of the figure meets the current standards of the Black Series. But I will take this cloak off him, and we'll bring in the old figure, and we'll have a look at them side by side. So, we've got the Maul Shadow Lord release on the left, and the previous Clone Wars version on the right. First of all, what probably strikes you immediately is the colour of red. On the newer version, it's been brightened significantly compared to the Clone Wars version. Now, you'll have to let me know which version you guys prefer. But those head sculpts to me do look the same. I have looked at them side by side for a little while, and other than the paint apps, it does seem to be the same head sculpt, which I personally think is a shame, as from the promotional images it did look to me and a few others like we were getting a new head sculpt with this guy. I'm not quite sure whether I prefer the previous head or the new one in regards to the paint apps. At least on my sample here you can see just how the markings on the face have been tidied up, which is quite nice. But unfortunately, if you can see, the yellow on his eyes is rather pale and the pupils are very, very pinprick small. I think the eyes get lost in the overall paint application there, which is a bit of a shame when compared to the older release. Some might argue that the red on the previous version is a little bit too dark, and that may be the case. This is a matter of personal preference after all, so it just depends which one you would rather have on your shelf. Or like me, if you've got a Clone Wars display and then you're going to start a Maul Shadow Lord display, you will want both of these guys. The rest of the figure is more or less exactly the same, even down to the paint applications on the belt and the gloves. The only other part that is somewhat different and better on the Shadow Lord version, in my opinion, are the legs, as they've been cast in a gunmetal plastic and have got a very nice sheen to them, and as a result give off a more mechanical feel. They feel more realistic and a little nicer in regards to the flat grey of the Clone Wars version. So I will give it that. I have to say I'm a little bit disappointed that for the majority this is reuse, as for the main character in his own series, in a line of figures based on said series, I think he deserved a little bit more. I've never really felt that this head sculpt properly captures Maul, And I'm a firm believer that the Vintage Collection release has a much better likeness, which I'm shocked to even say considering the size difference, but that's just how I feel. So I would have really liked to see a new head sculpt on this one. So looking at the lightsaber now, which is the only accessory that Maul comes with unless you want to count the cloak as an accessory as well. The new one is in my hand. I just want to compare this to the Clone Wars one. If you can make out, the Phantom Menace hilt has been cast in a gunmetal swirly plastic, and the bottom lightsaber, the more reforged version from Mandalore, has been done in a flat silver plastic. And you can see just how drastically different they are on the camera. Whilst I'm not too upset about the missing paint, as a lot of people are these days, the biggest point of contention for me is the actual reuse of this saber hilt, because I always felt that it was grossly oversized anyway, and now that the line has significantly progressed over the years, I feel like it's a rather inaccurate sculpt. Just looking at the Phantom Menace version of Maul, you can actually see the size difference, especially in the emitter section. It's grossly bulbous, and I just don't think there's any need for it. Off camera, I have tried to fit one of these to this new hilt down here, and whilst the pegs are different in design, they do fit. So I do think a little bit more engineering could have gone into the lightsaber hilts, especially when in the series trailer we see Maul using his hilt traditionally like this, but then also separating it into two. Which brings me to my next point really. Personally, if I was hypothetically in charge of bringing this figure to life, I wouldn't have released it when you've got a peg sticking out of it like that. At least for me, one of the key things to separate this figure from the other version is having it displayed specifically to the Shadow Lord series, and having him wield both lightsabers individually would have just allowed for a little more variety on display. But I think that's just an eyesore, and I just think it's unnecessary. It is my personal preference at the end of the day. Some of you guys might feel differently. Sound off in the comments and just let me know what you think. But I don't think I'd be asking too much for different hilts to be included. I'd have cast a solid hilt in this form and made it smaller and more accurate, and then I would have included two separate lightsabers that was already individual, similar to the Reva figure from the Obi-Wan Kenobi line. Again, just my personal opinion, something worth noting. This might not be the end of the world, but I just feel like for the main character of his own series, a little more effort could have been taken. So perhaps this could serve as just a small comparison with a couple of other Mauls. Front and centre, of course, is the new version. I will briefly mention the articulation. I'm not going to do a full run through and breakdown, as a lot of Black Series collectors are already going to have this mould on the shelf. It's got a ball joint in the head and the neck. The shoulders are on ball hinges with butterfly joints, swivel hinge shoulders. We've got the old style wrists with the forward bend. There's ball joints at the hips. He does have thigh swivel, as it's a mould from the time when that was standard. Bends and swivels at the knee, and then he also has hinged ankles with rocker joints. Standard articulation really, by no means out of date, but I do feel like some parts on this figure are, and sadly I feel like Hasbro could have tried a little harder just to make this guy feel a little more special and specific to his own series at the end of the day. I've just gone ahead and popped the cloak back on this guy, as this is how he's going to be displayed on my shelf, and personally I think this is the way to go with it. It differentiates it enough from the Clone Wars version and makes it a little more specific to what we've seen so far during the promotional material, the different trailers and clips of Maul Shadow Lord. At the time of filming this, the series is about to air in a few days' time, and I'm very excited for that, and I am still grateful to have some representation of it on the shelf. So that'll just end this little review on Maul. Sound out in the comments, guys. This one's been a brief one, but I mainly want your input on this. It's a very lackluster figure in my opinion. Maybe some other reviewers will feel different, but that's all down to personal choice at the end of the day. I do appreciate you watching. I appreciate your constant support throughout this series of reviews. I'm not sure what my next video will be, as I'm waiting on whatever releases next. But once again, thanks for watching, guys. Click subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my full gallery of this wave over on my Instagram. There'll be a link in the description below. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care, and may the Force be with you always.